All right, fans of music, welcome. It is I, the Harmless Dave, here talking real music in real time for a few real people who are left on planet Earth, just like you, hopefully you, and just like me. So Deen Castronovo is back in the news. He's going to have back surgery because he's got herniated discs, okay? And he's finally going to go get the surgery. There's a break between gigs. He's hoping to be back in whenever, I think it's December, when they're doing the Vegas run. And we just hope and pray the best for Deen. Last year, Deen was taking painkillers, and the article, again, every time they talk about Deen Castronovo, they relitigate stuff that happened to him before or that he did. You know, I'm sure he would acknowledge this. He's not running around not taking responsibility for his actions. In fact, they quote him in the article, but what they do is they tabloid it. They exploit it. They make it sound as though this guy, just a train wreck, now he's going to have back surgery. Last year, because he was in so much pain, he reverted back. No, he didn't revert back to his old ways. All right. It's unfortunate that if you're in that much pain and you have to push through and you have to do gigs. I mean, you know what's funny is somebody who's not in pain, who's in a rock band somewhere, and they're indulging in all of this stuff, and they won't be talked about, right? Now, I know what happened in 2015 and 2016, whatever that time frame. And again, the article that I read goes back and relitigates that. He's just having back surgery, guys. Can you just say Deen Castronovo is having back surgery and he hopes to be back with Journey for their Las Vegas run of shows? Done. That's the story. Not 6 years ago, Deen Castronovo had his mugshot taken because of blah, 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 blah. Why? I mean, when you guys talk about Don Henley, do you talk about the 16-year-old girl every time? No. When you talk about Vince Neil, do you talk about all the crazy crap that happened in that Motley Crue movie that would most likely get people arrested, especially in the era of Me Too? All that stuff that happened in the 80s. I mean, really, really horrible stuff. And I used to go to gigs in the 80s, and I was witness to much of what went on. And that wouldn't pass muster today, folks. Wouldn't. I mean, you could easily go back and relitigate everybody's existence from that time forward and probably backward and maybe forward even more. Not sure what happened in the 90s because I wasn't there. I didn't care. You know, I was out of the business at that point. But it's just weird how they continuously focus on Deen Castronovo. Because what? Maybe his worldview has changed. Maybe Deen discovered that there's something greater than himself on planet Earth, outside of everything. You know, if the world did kind of wake up and stopped focusing on themselves, you know, we would still stumble, we would still fall. But guess what? We would be in a much better place because we would realize our own shortcomings rather than just excusing them or saying things like, well, everybody does this. We all bundle. This is what we do, which relates, by the way, everything relates to what's going on right now outside of music, which the music industry itself has gone along absolutely lockstep with all of this. And they call out heretics, Eric Clapton. Oh no, what's Eric Clapton? What's Van Morrison? What are they doing? Imagine you can't have an original critical thought on your own anymore. You can't question what the government is telling you. And the media acts as a support system for this. These publications who want to make everything into a tabloid story, he's just having back surgery. Just focus on the story. That's the story, not the story from 5 or 6 years ago. Because if you're going to do it with Deen, you should be doing that with every rock star, because pretty much every rock star has a moment, maybe not as public as Deen had, but many of them have a moment in their career where you, again, could just focus, oh, they have a new album coming out. By the way, 24 years, they were arrested for heroin possession or something. I mean, I just stop it. It's just not even necessary. The reason I'm doing this video is because I've seen this now at least a half a dozen times with Deen Castronovo, at least a half a dozen. That's all they do. They go back to this story. Look, Journey decided to bring him back in, right? Despite all of your fantastic tabloid journalism, they brought Deen Castronovo back in because they needed Deen. They needed Deen on vocals. There's a story for you. What's going on with Journey's vocals? What's going on with Randy Jackson in Journey? Here are some stories that you guys could maybe do some research on, right? But all you're doing is someone comes along, does something on Facebook or Twitter, and then you just report it. But then what you do is, rather than just report what they said, you then have to kind of extrapolate and include all the salacious garbage that has nothing to do with the story. You know why journalism is dying? Because people just can't do journalism. They can't do it. They have to either do opinion journalism or they have to do, you know, personal destruction journalism, where they just cut the legs right out from under you and then make you into the worst person in the world. Did you know that Deen Castronovo did this back in 2015, 2016? Do you know? How about you just try to move forward? And yeah, he's been very forthcoming. This is why you have all of these nifty quotes that you inject into these articles to make them more, I don't know, tabloid oriented, more salacious. So people will say, oh, it's not just about the back surgery. Well, you know, last year he was taking painkillers because he was in a lot of pain. Yeah, because he had to play gigs in that condition. And he had to push through, because remember last year, they weren't doing a lot of elective surgeries. Folks, wake up, wake up. Why weren't they doing elective surgeries? Well, there's only one thing that we can talk about in the medical world right now, right? Knocking on the hospital door. Can I come in? Nope, sorry. It's my back though. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait. That's a great healthcare system, huh? Then that's a great media. So there's another story. People are not allowed to do elective surgeries. They're not allowed to do surgeries that aren't necessarily elective, that need to get done. Cancer treatments, go down the list of things. But we can only talk about this one thing. Crazy, crazy. It's outrageous. And did it affect Deen? Sure, he had to keep postponing this. How about you guys do a story about that? Of course, that's not in your wheelhouse, because it's not, because again, that's going to rub against the narrative and people are going to get angry, and whoever's paying you off or whoever is influencing you, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's just some overlord somewhere with very deep pockets that tells you, you know, if you keep talking this way, we will reward you. But if you keep, you know, if you go the other way, or you become like me, sort of based and black pilled or whatever I am, I don't even know anymore. But if you go in my direction, well, you're going to be one of those influencers that we have to stop. I hope I can get to that point where I'm one of the influencers that they need to stop, because I'm going to keep telling it like I tell it. And I consider Deen a friend, and I find this repulsive. And it's just, stop it. Can you just stop it? Do a story and then just do the story and then stop. I know it's too short of a story. Say Deen Castronovo has been working really hard with a number of bands over the last few years, including the Revolution Saints, which you guys don't talk about because, again, you'd be exposing the rock world, the melodic rock world, to music that they're not exposed to, because rock radio is so boring and tedious and unimaginative. You can't do that because it would, again, oh no, there's melodic rock that sounds a little bit like Journey and Night Ranger, Foreigner, whatever it sounds like, has all these great musicians, but screw it, right? Comes from the Frontiers music label. They're not a real record label. Okay, sure they're not. And you're not a real journalist. Okay, your publication is not a real publication. It's a way to waste time, quite frankly. But here's the thing, there aren't a lot of choices out there for me to get information, because less and less of this matters to people when they see the world is on fire and they're more concerned about their life, their liberty, their pursuit of happiness, their health. Anyway, pray for Deen that he'll be okay. This is not a minor surgery. By the way, Deen has taken a different approach than Steve Perry. I think he wants to come back after the surgery.